well, that we do. When you get together with your cousin, you do kind of like a secret handshake type of a thing. And so this is
Yes.
something that creates a little bit of a connection between you and your cousin. What is it?
So it's called lemonade, and this is how you do it. Lemonade, crunchy ice. Sip it once, sip it twice. Lemonade, iced tea, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, turn around, touch the ground. Kick COVID out of town. People say boyfriend out of town, or
Okay.
so I chose to say COVID.
I like that. That sounds even nicer.
So,
Get COVID out of town.
yeah.
And is that the end of that little rhyme?
Uh-huh.
Okay, there you go. So that's the lemonade iced tea little rhyme. And you and your cousin do that pretty much every time you see each other. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like a little secret handshake. So that's kind of a tradition and it creates a bonding. So that will create lasting memories. Even as you grow up, you will say, you'll say, we used to do this all the time when we were little. And you guys will always remember that. It's important. It really is.
Yeah.
And that's what creates a family connection. This is what creates a family bonding, a family source of identity. It strengthens the family bond. You know, another tradition that we have is we like to talk about our family history.
Yeah.
So, since we talk about family history and we have lots of pictures, in fact, I do, and this is a tradition, it's something I do every single year. At the end of every year, I make an album of pictures that has all the pictures from the whole year. So I just finished my 2021 album. Have you seen it yet?
No.
Okay, it's on my shelf right there by the other albums. You'll have to get it out and look at it. You'll see yourself in there a lot. Yeah, a lot of cute pictures of you. And so I do that at the end of every year. And that is a tradition that has the purpose of valuing family pictures and family memories. So since I do that every year, that is it's become a family tradition.
And this is kind of a tradition too. So we go to Art Kids for Hub, and we do art lessons every single year. Like spring, we do spring pictures,
Every
and
season.
and for like Christmas, we do Christmas pictures, and we hang them up on this line string, and we clip them with clothespins to the string.
Yep.
And it's kind of like a tradition.
It is because we do it every season. It's become a tradition. It's something that we've just started doing, but we really love it. And we've done it pretty much all year this year. So we have a big collection of pictures. Now, these pictures, the kids draw themselves and they either paint or use markers or coloring crayons, whatever, to paint the pictures. And then we hang them up on this line. So it's a collection as you get old. Oh, and another thing that is a tradition that we do, you always write your name and the date. Because as you grow up, we're going to want to look back at these pictures and you want to think, I wonder how old I was when I drew this picture. Well, we'll know it because we'll be able to look at the date. So that's why we always put the date on it because I'm saving all of the pictures that we do.
Yes.
So this is called the Art Hub for Kids. And I really recommend it. It is so good because it really teaches them how to draw. It does this step by step. And that's really neat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Another tradition that I have is I have these little stockings that I keep hung up all year long. So they're not just for Christmas and they're really tiny, but they're big enough for candy and a little Bible verse. So I always put a little Bible verse and a little candy in there so that whenever my grandkids come to my house or any day that they want, they can just go to their little stocking and the stocking has your number on it. Okay. Now, everybody has their own number based on the birth order of what grandchild they are. So what is your number?
My number is number 7.
So she is my 7th grandchild.
Mhm.
And so she always has a number 7. Then she can look at the stocking that also has a number 7 on it. And then also she has a t-shirt with the number 7 on it.
Mhm.
And we have a tradition of all of my grandkids taking a picture together, standing in line with their numbered t-shirts on. Now we've only done this twice and we did it 5 years apart. So we're going to be doing this tradition that every 5 years we're
Mhm.
going to take that family picture again.
Yes.
So that's a tradition that we do every 5 years. See, we do traditions every day. Those are daily traditions. Then
Mhm.
we do traditions every season.
Yes.
Okay. Then we do traditions that we do every year,
Mhm.
like holidays and cousins camp. Then we have traditions that we're going to do every 5 years.
Mhm.
Okay, Faith, I have to tell you about a new tradition that I've not done yet, but I just decided that I want to do this. And I think that is so important, y'all, as you are just building your family, you have to know seasons change and things change. So as seasons change, we want to continue to do the old traditions and then we want to create new traditions. So, a new tradition I want to create when every grandchild turns 16. Have you ever heard of a sweet 16 birthday?
Yes.
Okay, so sweet 16, that's a really sweet age because it's the age that you're able to drive and it's the
Mhm.
age that you become just a more mature teenager.
Yes.
So you can accept more responsibility and you're a more mature teenager. So when each of my grandchildren turn 16, Nina and Pa are going to one at a time take a grandchild, just that one child, on a vacation with just you. That is a special place that you would love to go because of your own interest.
Mhm.
Like, for instance, if you love pageants, maybe you would want to go see the big Miss America pageant.
Mhm.
Or maybe since you love acting or since you like triple threat things, maybe we would take you to New York City to see a big show, something like that. Or if, like, one of the boys, when they turn 16, if they're really into basketball, we could take them to on a vacation to see their favorite team play.
Mhm.
So something that has to do with the interest that you have, and then we'll do a little mini vacation that is just for you. And then you get to have all this time together. And I think that's the value that I want to pass down is number one, to know that there is value in this child as an individual. Because oftentimes we're creating traditions which are for groups, but we want to also just do things with each individual. I want each child to know that they are individually important. And as they reach this age of readiness where they could just really, really appreciate what we're doing, I think it's important to have this quality time with each child. So, Sophia will be first. She's 14 now. So, in a year and a half, by the time she's 16, she'll be the first one to do that. And then we'll go on down. So, you'll be the 7th to do it. But believe it or not, you're going to be 16 before you know it because you're already 8. So in only 8 more years, you'll be 16.
This goes fast.
You hope it goes fast. But traditions are so important. So important. It offers comfort and security. It's a fun thing. It's a fun thing to do that. And it's things that we can look forward to, right?
Mhm.
Especially. What are some traditions that your family has?
So every year, for Christmas, we either go to my house, on my dad's side of the family, we stay at our house and do Christmas with all of the white people family, and or we either go to my dad's mom and dad's
Your other grandparents' house.
yeah, yeah.
And they have a tradition, don't they? They do a
Mhm.
scavenger hunt.
Yes.
That's their tradition. Tell us how that works.
So, they hide our presents, with our picture of our faces on it. They
Oh.
have this tree on their kitchen, like that would be the tree right there.
Okay.
And so all of their grandkids would be on that tree. So every year they
Oh.
would do a new picture for how you look every year.
Oh, that's so special. I love that tradition. That
Mhm.
is really special. So that way, every year they can see all of the grandkids growing up. That is very neat. And every year they do a scavenger hunt for you to find your present.
Yes.
That is super special. I love that. And so this is a good thing. When you go to their house, it lets you know what you can expect and it makes it even more fun. Well, I had a tradition that every year I would go to my grandma and grandpa's house for the summer holiday, for summer when you didn't have school. They lived in California, so I would go to California and I had a tradition going to their house. And one tradition I did is I would always go with my grandma to work, kind of like you're coming with me to work today. So I would go with my grandma to work. She worked at a post office and I would help her. And then my grandpa was the pastor. So I go with him to the church and do different things at the church. And we did that every year. Another tradition was my grandpa took me fishing every year because he was a fisherman. And so he liked to take us fishing. So we would go fishing. So that was really fun. But you and I have a tradition of going to Six Flags too. I like to take my grandkids to Six Flags.
So I've caught, this is really funny. I've caught one fish in my whole life. Only
tell me
one
about it.
fish. So I've never gone fishing before. My dad says you have to be 7 to go fishing and camping with like my brother and my dad. So I was like, that is not fair. Cause my brother was 6 when he got to go camping. So I was like, how is that fair? And so when I was 7, it was like 2 months after I turned 7, I went fishing. So surprisingly I caught my first fish.
Well, congratulations.
And now I never go fishing again.
Do you want to go again?
Yes, I do want.
So you would like to be that you would like that to be a new tradition.
Yes.
Okay. Would you like to go with your dad, just you and your dad, or with you and your dad and your brother?
Only me and my dad.
Oh, okay. So you want it to be a tradition of just like something that daddy does with each kid.
So, just like my brother goes camping, with my dad every single year, when he's like a little bit younger. He's 10 right now. So like
I think around Father's Day. Your dad has kind of like a Father's Day camping trip.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you want to go too.
Yes.
Definitely. But just with you and your dad, like a daddy-daughter camping trip.
Yeah.
That would be so special. I love that. You know what? This is one of the reasons that we want to do traditions is because this creates a connectedness. Okay. This connects and bonds the generations. And it's important to mix and match the groups so that, for instance, it's not always the girls and the boys. It's not always the older kids and the younger kids. It's not always the kids with mom or the boys with the girls with mom or the boys with dad. It is important to mix things up, and the purpose of that is so that there can be a bond and a connect with everyone. This is incredible to do this. So that's awesome, and this will create lasting memories. I think forever, Faith, you will always remember when you caught your first fish.
I probably will.
Yeah, that's going to be a memory that it's going to last forever. You know what? Sometimes traditions need to be eliminated. And if something is not working, don't be afraid to eliminate it. You don't have to do it over and over again. And then you'll see other traditions that just work and you want to do them over and over again. For instance, playing games. Playing games can be a tradition that you can do every single year, but you'll notice some games just work and everybody has fun. Other games do not work and people did not have fun. So we have started a new game tradition of playing left, right, center. And we really like that as a family game. So that's really fun. So that's a fun game to play for birthdays. Yes.
And we also do it with money. It comes with chips.
Yes.
Not like chips you eat.
Like, yes, we know what chips are when you're playing a game. Yeah.
Yeah, like playing chips.
Yes. But we like to do it with dollar bills.
And
then for whatever birthday it is,
you get the jackpot.
Yes, when we
Which
play for
is-
your birthday, we do the jackpot. So that's really cool. That's really cool. Okay, so we have also family traditions that we do every year for somebody's birthday. So during their birthday, and we already talked about that we go around the table, but your mom did a neat tradition with you guys that she added, because I didn't do this when she was little, but for you kids, when you wake up in the morning, there's balloons everywhere, right? Like
That's
when you
weird.
walk out of your room, isn't there balloons and streamers right there? I didn't do that when she was little. I didn't even think about it. Do you love it?
Every day they did that?
No,
Or for
doesn't your mom
birthdays?
do it every time you have birthdays?
Yes.
So for each one of you kids, when it's your birthday, you wake up and there's balloons and streamers. Yeah, that's amazing.
And so we have a chalkboard. It's like probably the size of maybe one of your guys' house walls.
Oh yeah.
So it's probably the size of, it's bigger than a window. So it's about like probably 5 feet. So we draw on the chalkboard something that describes you, and we draw like happy birthday and
then a picture that like either matches the party theme or something that describes you. And your dad's an artist. So the chalkboard wall has become like a family tradition. I love that. A family birthday tradition. Well, thank you, Faith. We will be right back after the break, and we will be talking to Mimi. My mom, Debbie Titus, is going to join us on air. So stick with us. We'll be right back after the break talking about family traditions.
Bye.
From Burleson to Venus and Grandview to Godley, this is the voice of Johnson County, Joco Community Radio.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. A major Christmas weekend storm caused widespread whiteout conditions and closed key highways amid blowing snow in the mountains of Northern California and Nevada, with forecasters warning that travel in the Sierra Nevada could be difficult for several days. National Weather Service meteorologist Dustin Norman in Reno says the snow is expected to taper off later today.
We're forecasting up to 1 to 2 inches in some of the lower valleys, including Carson City and Reno. A little bit higher up towards Lake Tahoe, expecting at least another foot. Some of the higher elevations of the Sierra, potentially up to 2 feet.
A Donner Pass record in the Sierra Nevada was broken for the snowiest December record. That was previously set in 1970. The North Star California Resort in Truckee has closed its mountain operations amid blizzard conditions. In the Pacific Northwest, emergency warming shelters have been opened throughout western Washington and Oregon. Meanwhile, temperatures unseasonably warm in parts of the southern plains, including Arkansas, where several cities broke records on Christmas Day for daily high temperatures. Also at townhall.com, many families who lost loved ones to COVID-19 may be missing out on a big benefit from the government.
Families are entitled to apply for up to $9,000 to cover funeral costs for their loved ones. The Federal Emergency Management Agency says it spent nearly $1.5 billion on those reimbursements since January of 2020, the date of the first confirmed case of COVID-19 in the U.S. As of December 6th, FEMA says only 226,000 people have received the money, with more than 800,000 deaths attributed to COVID-19 in the U.S. It's clear many families have yet to take advantage of the benefit. Bob Agnew reporting.
Stocks remain higher, the Dow up 267 points. More at townhall.com.
Your pet's When you're hungry for tender brisket or some delicious homemade cobbler, then look no further than Leach Brothers Barbecue, located at 1106 East Henderson in Cleveland, Texas. Leach Brothers has been family-owned and operated since 1950. Take it from me, Taco Joe Orwinski. Todd and his family have been filling my belly breakfast, lunch, and dinner for a long time. Heck, I even have my own booth, open Monday through Saturday, 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. Come see them for dine-in, carry-out, and all your catering needs.
Here's important new information from the Diabetes Solution Center for you, a family member, or a loved one suffering with diabetes. If you have lost your provider, or if you need a provider for diabetic supplies, you may qualify to receive your diabetic testing supplies now with little or no out-of-pocket cost, regardless of your age. All you need is Medicare or private insurance to be potentially eligible. Call the Diabetes Solution Center right now for details. Just takes a couple of minutes. Our friendly, knowledgeable agents will give you free, no-obligation information, handle all the insurance paperwork, and make sure your supplies are delivered directly to your door for free.
Call U.S. Medical Supply 24 hours a day. 800-597-9323. 800-597-9323. 800-597-9323. Call right now. 800-597-9323.
Hey, there's something you forgot to do. It sure is hot. Are you sweating like a dog? Wait, what? Dogs don't sweat. Oh no, you forgot to get your window tinted. Whether it's the kitchen window that sits in the sun for the hottest part of the day, or you just got new wheels, call Sharp Window Tinting in Burleson. 817-615-9379, or look them up on the web, sharpwindowtint.com.
You're listening to Joco Community Radio. Welcome back to The Her Show. That's Home Experience Radio with your host, Trina Titus Lozano, pastoral counselor and ordained Christian minister. She's here to give you advice and answer your questions about life, love, and other mysteries. Call our studio line now at 817-637-2585. Now, here's Trina.
Joco Community Radio is proud to be the voice of Johnson County, Texas, and is live 365 on the TuneIn Radio Network. To listen, go to tuneinjoco.com and download the free app. All of our shows can also be found on any of your favorite podcast platforms, such as Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, and Spreaker. So check out our lineup and more on jococommunityradio.com. Thank you for tuning in. This episode and more brought to you by Next Level Claims, making your insurance work for you. So reach out to your Texas sales rep, Nona Reed, at 844-839-4245. And it is a pleasure to be here in the studio with my granddaughter, Faith White.
Hi, everyone.
And also, I've got my mom, Debbie Titus, on the line to give us some advice about making family traditions. Hi, Mom. Mom, you there? Let's see if I can get her on the line. I think she's here. I think she's going to be here. Mom, can you hear me? Well, let's see. I'm going to get her on the line here in just a minute. We'll see if she can hear me and if I can hear her. Hey, Mom, are you there? Well, hold on. We're going to get this. We're going to get her on air with me. Let's see. So Debbie Titus, my mom, has written a book called The Home Experience Book, and she wrote it, I think, back in 2002 originally. And together, she and I have hosted home experience intensives, and she invited me to be a part of this incredible project that she does. And she goes all over the world telling people about how to make their home a place of love and peace. So it's great. Hey, Mom, are you on air?
I am. I'm here with you. I don't know if I'm on air, but
oh, yes, you are. You are live right now. But thank you for joining us. Faith's here with me too.
Hi.
Well, awesome. Hi, Faith.
So we're talking about family traditions. What are some of your favorite family traditions?
Oh my goodness. Well, I grew up in a home that had lots of relatives, and on Christmas Eve we had all of the extended family to our home. My mother was very hospitable, so she hosted everything. Let me see. I'm hearing the radio and me. Is there any way I can change that?
You're hearing the radio and you?
Yes.
So maybe on your phone, you have already maybe tuned into the radio station?
Yes, I had.
Oh, okay. So you can go ahead and turn that off. So you can just...
I'll try to do that so I can just talk. I'm sorry
to
the listeners for the distraction. I think I accomplished it. So it was the extended family, having all the people, and my mother was so hospitable. And so Christmas Eve was when we opened our gifts from each other. And it was just such a happy time. It was a time of sharing and seeing relatives that we had not seen. We had a gift for everybody, but our gifts were small. They weren't, something somebody told us they wanted us to buy for them. We just bought what we wanted to give to them and what was in our budget. I think that made it, as a small child, a young child, that made such an impression on me that I prepared something wrapped in tissue paper with a little curly ribbon on the end, whatever age I was, to give. And so that was a wonderful memory for me. And I think in different ways we've carried that tradition on with our family. So
Oh,
we
definitely.
exchange gifts with each other on Christmas Eve, and then the quote unquote Santa Claus gifts, the surprise gifts to the immediate family, we would wake up in the morning and those would be under the tree.
And you had traditional recipes that you would eat every year, and then you even made for our family. And so but the recipes have very much been part of a family tradition, which I think is neat because it's really part of a family culture, is the type of food that we eat.
Yeah, it really is. Although over the years, after I married and created our home together, I didn't live in the same state with my parents. So we weren't going back to their home after we were married. And I brought some of the traditions from my family, but my husband also had preferences that he wanted. So I needed to adapt, because I have to remember we were blending two households of traditions. And I think that's really important for us as wives to remember our husbands, depending on the family he grew up with, but he grew up with traditions too. And we need to be sensitive to that and incorporate the two, and then create our own generation of tradition, as well as bringing some from the past generations.
Well,
For example, my mother always cooked turkey at Christmas.
Yeah.
And that was a repeat of our Thanksgiving meal. And she would supplement, because we would have so many people, she would supplement the turkey and also have a ham, just so there was enough food. But my husband wanted ham always for Christmas. And that was not, my mother would make comments many times, it's just not Christmas if we don't have a turkey. Well, those comments can come from generation to generation, and with sensitivity and with a lot of love, and then with courage, we still must create our own traditions that blend with our husbands. And so that's what I did. But all of your life, you know what our Christmas menu is. And it's because that's the menu your dad wanted.
Oh yeah. I think it's neat to have traditional food. Now you grew up eating. Now I'm other than holidays, just the food that your mom would cook, it represented the culture of where she came from. So although you grew up in California, she was originally from Oklahoma. So you grew up with food that was traditional to Oklahoma. You grew up with biscuits and gravy and a lot of fried food and things like this. And that's interesting how family traditions really definitely the food represents the culture of the heritage that you came from. I remember your mom saying, well, you were born in California, but hey, if you have an Okie mom and an Okie dad, you're an Okie.
Yeah, that's what she would say to me, because I'm the only California born of all of our family.
Yes.
During the war, my mother, with my brother, who is 4 years older, moved to California to get work while my father was serving in battle. And so I was, of course, conceived when he got out of the Army, and that's why we're 4 years apart in age.
Another tradition that you had growing up is you guys would pray on your knees, kneeling, I believe, in the living room before bedtime. Is that the way that you would do your bedtime prayers?
Yes, this was in my mother's house growing up. So we all knelt and created our personal privacy. So, my dad knelt at his chair and my mom at the chair she would usually sit in, and my brother and I would find our place to kneel, and we all prayed privately, but at the same time. but it wasn't a group prayer. It was a private prayer.
But
And,
was it bedtime?
There was some times that I really prayed and cried and repented and just as a little girl. And there were other times I didn't want to pray. And so I counted the colors in the threads on the sofa.
You were just kind of doing your own thing. That's funny. But the thing is it established family value of prayer. And that's one thing that I wanted to bring out to our listeners today is as you create family traditions and doing these repetitive things daily or annually, what it does is it anchors the family values, and your family values of faith were anchored during that time of saying bedtime prayers, saying mealtime prayers, these traditions.
Yes. It's so important because in everybody's life, we go through seasons. We have ups and downs. We have trials and we have victories. We have failures and we have successes. And, that time of kneeling was a time of humbling, although we didn't understand it. It was an action of respect for us, was to kneel. And it wasn't a religious thing. It was in our living room. In fact, the church that I attended, during a church service, we didn't kneel as a ritual. But at home, we knelt for that evening prayer. Around the table, we held hands and we prayed all at the same time.
Yes.
Out loud.
Yes.
Individual prayers, but a group prayer out loud.
Yes.
And then at night it was private and prayer was established. So as I mentioned, there's seasons, and there was a season in my life, young teens, praying wasn't something that I was wanting to do because I was actually wanting to do some things that I knew God wouldn't approve of. And so that wasn't a time for me to just bare my heart to the Lord, but the tradition of kneeling, I still had to do it. And that kept me connected. It kept me anchored. And so it's really important to establish those routines.
You had another tradition. You would drive from California to Oklahoma annually to visit your grandparents.
We did that. And I was trying to think, it was for years we did it. I remember I was young enough that in our car, the back seat of the car had behind this seat where the window would drop down. It was the design of the car. There was just maybe a width of about 15 or 20, maybe 20 inches of, just a flat surface. And I would put a pillow up and lay down up behind the seat in the window. So I would
times were different then,
5 years old,
Yeah.
so little that I fit up there. And then my brother would lay in the seat and my mom and dad would be in the front. And we drove straight through, no restaurants, no hotels. We had a cooler with mother would prepare food, fried chicken, bologna, fresh, soft bread. And we would make daddy a sandwich if he started getting sleepy driving. And it was always just such fun memories.
Well, it is these traditions that actually creates the stability in your life, which is amazing. People don't realize often that it is the little things that are the big things.
Yeah,
And
you're right, Trina.
Yes.
So right.
Yes, and there's daily connections, weekly connections, and then annual connections. But these things that we do repetitively make such an impact in our life. We had a family tradition, we could call it that, but it was a constant pattern of going to church. So our schedule was, since you and Dad were pastors, is church was Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, and choir practice on Saturday night.
That was it.
That was it. That was the schedule. And that actually becomes a tradition because it is something that happens constantly, week after week after week after week after week. And
your kids always went with us.
We were always with
always
you. We
there.
were always there. That was the regular schedule. And meals, you would traditionally cook a big, beautiful meal for lunch every Sunday after church. So we would come home, we would have a big, beautiful meal, invite company. There was always other people besides just the four of us. And then after that, we would take a nap every day, every Sunday.
Every Sunday.
And then we
And I
would
still
get dressed
do it.
and go back to
We
church.
still take a nap. We formed a habit.
So it was a habit. And then so the habit, it becomes a tradition. And in my family, with my husband and our kids, one day I woke up Uncle Bryson to Faith, her Uncle Bryson, my son. And he said, Mommy, what's today? And I said, today's Sunday. And he said, oh, so today we go to church and watch the races.
Oh, so
because
your husband
yes,
loves car races, and that's my point.
at the time he was
carry traditions from our childhood into our family, but we must also include our husbands.
yes,
And let them mold and create our own identity as a family as well.
yes. So then the tradition would be during race season that we would be watching NASCAR. And then, of course, football season, we're watching the football game. And even now, you guys come over and we've started a new tradition. You watch every Cowboys game with us this season, and that's been a lot of fun. But,
Yes.
we cheer the Cowboys on. Yay, go Cowboys. Last night's game was amazing.
Oh my, and wasn't that game something? Yes, last night.
It was amazing. But you
It
know
was
what? It's
amazing.
important. Another tradition that we've had is going to Christmas Eve candlelight service. So we've done this every year. Faith, have you enjoyed that?
Yes.
Yes. So that's what we do every Christmas Eve. We go to a candlelight church service before we come home and eat and open gifts. And so it's special to do that.
And it was really interesting when you kids were growing up. If you recall, we didn't have Christmas Eve service at our church. And it was because we always did big productions. And the big production would have been done multiple nights the week before. And we had hundreds and hundreds of people serving in the choirs and singing and actors, and they just spent so much time there. We thought it was thoughtful to not have, if people wanted to go to a traditional service, there are many churches that have them, and we didn't have one on Christmas Eve. And also, we did that for us personally to be able to have some personal time with you kids. And so we didn't have a Christmas Eve service in our churches when you were growing up.
That's right. So that's something that I did with my kids because
yes,
they needed that. They needed the connection to be able to go to church and to just bring the relatability. They didn't go as often as I did as a kid because I wasn't my husband and I aren't pastors. So we just went, when it was the right time. But do you think that there are any traditions that you feel like molded us more than another one? I think it was our family meals together. That
was going to be my answer as well.
Yeah.
So I think the family meals, and I think the anticipation of that family meal, people look forward to it. I hosted Christmas dinner this year here in my home, and I frequently host the Christmas Day meal in my home. And we're with you in your home with all the gifts and all the young kids. Your home is so set up for that. Well, when everybody was here this week, something that I noticed was there was great anticipation when they walked in, even the children, and they immediately knew at Mimi's house, this is the behavior. And they sat up at that table. There was no need to correct anybody, to instruct anybody. They had been there before. They were comfortable. They knew what was expected, and they were excited to eat the food. Yeah. And it was because the food was familiar.
Yes, that's right. And it's a family value to have good table manners. It's a family tradition to eat meals together at the table, and it's family value to have good manners, good table manners. And so we have definitely taught that to the kids. I mean, that was part of our family culture that you taught me, and I passed it down to my children and now the grandchildren. So there is that value. Mom, tell our listeners about just some of the benefits of eating together at the table. I think many families, what's happened, and even over the holidays, where they will just do this buffet and everybody grabs a plate and sits wherever, but not necessarily at the table. Can you just give a little
Yeah.
overview of the
Sure.
benefit of
Well,
sitting together at the table for mealtime?
some of our top universities spent 15 years in an experiment and research studying families who eat at the table for meals compared to families who don't, and the outcome of their children. And they proved absolutely, this is all in writing, you can look this up on the internet. They proved absolutely that children are less likely to get into trouble. They'll make better grades. They'll do better in school. They're less likely to experiment with drugs, sex, things that could destroy their lives if they eat meals at the table, eye to eye, face to face, an average of 5 times a week. Now, we eat 21 meals a week, so 5 times a week doesn't seem like that should be too much. But nowadays, and it's not the quantity or the food or even how pretty the table is set that makes the difference. It's the close proximity, about 42 inches apart, eye to eye, face to face conversation. And in psychology and sociology, they show that conversation is what builds connection, it builds confidence, it creates security, emotional security, and they learn how to interact with different generations. So, how to use language. And you remember, children are learning a language. It's just like you trying to learn a foreign language and then nobody ever talking to you in that language. Well, how are you going to learn the language? So talking to children in full sentences, in complete thoughts, paragraphs, you might say, if you put it in a writing concept, is forming their thinking ability. It's forming their mind. It's forming their ability to be able to take thought and convert thought into articulation. So it's a huge factor in the development of a person, is to sit at a table when you eat meals and have conversation. And the conversation needs to be positive, of course. It can have a negative effect if you're always correcting them, shouting at them, sending them away from the table. That table becomes a place of trauma, and they're not going to want to come there. But also, those people you will see will grow up with a lack of confidence and a sense of security and significance.
Exactly. There are so many benefits, so many benefits. I would love if our listeners would make a New Year's resolution that this year they
Yes.
are going to set the table. And, it is way more likely that your children and your spouse will come eat a meal at the same time if they see that a table is already set.
Yes,
And
and set it in advance. Maybe you're going to be busy tomorrow night. Perhaps there's soccer games for the kids and you can't do it tomorrow night. Go ahead and set it when you unload your dishwasher. And then you might get to it in 2 nights. Well, it's already set. And what the family knows is, yay, we're going to have a meal together. And they all look forward to it.
exactly. It's so exciting. We love looking forward to meals. And speaking of tradition, I think it's really great that you incorporate food as part of your tradition. For instance, Taco Tuesday. So we already
Yes.
know that
Yes.
tomorrow night is tacos because we have tacos every Tuesday. We have pizza every Friday night. So we have these patterns and these routines that create a tradition, and it just makes life so in a world that is so unpredictable, where there's so many things that we just can't count on that are always changing. Traditions provide a framework that we can go about our daily and weekly routine, knowing what to expect, to a certain extent. There's always surprises in life, but there we can know, and it creates so much security to just have an idea and to have a routine. And then, even in fact, when people are grieving and their loved one isn't with them anymore, they can still think, you know what? we used to have tacos every Tuesday. I'm going to have tacos tonight just because it makes me think fondly of, your parents or your grandparents who have gone on to heaven. And it's a wonderful thing to have these family traditions.
It
Weekly
is. It
weekly
really,
traditions
really
as well
is.
as monthly and annual traditions
And
and seasonal.
from the mom's perspective, who would be kind of preparing for these things, it simplifies it to have a routine. You're not recreating every time, so you know
Exactly.
what Tuesday is going to be. So you make sure you have the groceries available for that Tuesday, and so it simplifies it.
Yes, exactly. That's wonderful. Well, Mom, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate you calling in and talking on air with us. Sorry, there was some difficulty in the beginning, but I really appreciate it. I think it's an important thing to pass down these family values from generation to generation by adding this tool, this very important tool of consistency through tradition.
Oh,
It
Trina,
really
your
matters.
program is so awesome. I'm so proud of you and the listeners for just the types of topics that you cover. They are so essential. All of us can grow and improve. We never stop growing and improving. So you add so much. Thank you, honey.
Thank you, Mom. Hey, radio's a family tradition.
Yes,
You
it
did
is.
radio, and my other grandma had a radio show. So I've loved radio for a long,
I
long
had a
time.
radio program. Do you remember that?
Oh yes, I remember your radio program. I think that was my first time in a radio
Something
studio.
beautiful.
That's right. I remember very well, and
Okay.
that planted the seeds way back then. In fact, we have a family tradition of being teachers, of being Bible teachers, of being pastors. So I think if families realize that whatever they do, their children are watching, their children are learning, and in fact, it is most likely that whatever you do, your children are going to do it too. They typically are watching
does
you and
happen.
are going to repeat what you're doing. Yeah. So thank you so much for establishing
Okay.
great traditions for our family. Really appreciate that. Okay, Mom, love you. Bye bye.
Thank you, honey. Bye-bye.
Family traditions, a tradition of mealtime, a tradition of, of the values of being a stay-at-home mom. My grandmother, my great-grandmother, my mother, myself, we all worked. We all had jobs. We all worked. We all worked outside the home, but we all made it a priority to be at home with our children, being the primary caretakers of our children. And because this was a tradition really passed on from generation to generation, my daughters are carrying on this tradition and they are the primary caretakers of their children. And I think these traditions are an incredible thing to pass on. Okay, we've got New Year's coming up. So, some New Year's traditions we'll talk about. Also, I want to talk about family mission statements. So, right after the break, Faith and I will be right back, right?
Yep.
Yep. And so we'll tell you some more family stories right after the break. Stay with us.
Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395.
Abnormal realities. No, Ron, I love you, brother.
Okay, this is not going to be good.
So I just want to say that for the record.
Oh.
So let's talk let's talk about your experience on Saturday, because two reasons. It's very important for people to do this. And
What,
that is
talk about it?
No, getting
no,
a camera
get it.
shoved up your butthole.
Yeah.
How was the butt sex with camera?
I don't remember it at all, actually. But I don't remember the camera searching for Uranus, my anus. Hey, dude, I always, when you go in for these types of procedures, they put you to sleep, right?
I mean, you got a
It was
camera
fun.
shoved up your butthole and you don't even remember it.
No,
that is a
I
really good
don't.
deep sleep.
And quite honestly, the weird part is you don't even know you've been violated. It doesn't feel like you've been violated. Oh, they blow air straight up in your butt. You got to release that somehow. So I got that out of the way as soon as I woke up.
Abnormal realities. I got questions. With Ron.
and Rocky.
I got it done.
You got it done.
Weekdays, 4 p.m. and 10 p.m. on JoCo Community Radio.
Out-of-date carpet giving you the blues? Tired of your old dingy and broken tile? Let my friends at the Floor Store in Cleveland, Texas give your home the makeover it deserves. This is Old Taco Joe coming to you for the Floor Store. Whether it's carpet, tile, wood flooring, or real wood laminate, the Floor Store can cover all of your flooring needs. Located at 405 West Henderson Street in Cleveland, Texas, owner Brent Harris can help. Shower tile, tub surrounds, even backsplashes. Give them a call today at 817-641-9444. The Floor Store, they've got you covered.
You're listening to JoCo Community Radio.
Welcome back to the Her Show. I'm Trina Titus Lozano here with my granddaughter,
Faith.
Faith White. That's right, Faith White. Thank you for joining me on the Her Show today, Faith.
Uh-huh.
We were talking about family traditions and generational blessings. Generational blessings. This is when the blessings of God are passed down from generation to generation to generation. We do have a family tradition of loving God. We have a family tradition of going to church and making church a priority, making prayer a priority, and memorizing scripture. It's a family tradition. It really is. And also bedtime prayers, mealtime prayers, bedtime stories. A lot of family traditions have Bible stories. We read Bible stories on a regular basis. All of these traditions, these things create stability and security in a family. And so it's a wonderful thing to have these family traditions.
Yes.
And I'm excited about your family. Your family is growing up, and you are even going to have a new baby in your family. Your mom has started a new tradition. I wonder if you're going to do this as well. She has her babies at home.
Yes.
So that's been something special.
She's never had one of her babies in the hospital.
Never. Every time at home. And so I wonder if you're going to do that too. You think?
The reason why I think she doesn't have her babies in the hospital is I don't think she trusts.
Yeah, she just is comfortable at home. She's so comfortable at home, and it's worked well every time. And so it's been a wonderful thing to have her babies at home, and she's even had water births every time. So it's been really good. So maybe that's kind of a new tradition. Another family tradition that you guys do is your mom did pageants, and then now your Aunt Brooke did pageants, and now you're doing pageants.
Yep.
Do you think you might do some more pageants?
I don't want to, but
you don't want to?
Know.
Maybe you will. You're a good public speaker.
Maybe.
And Tiffany was saying you have the gift of gab. I think you do. You have the gift of gab. You know what else are good family traditions is movie nights, game nights. Games can be a tradition. So if you have favorite games, do it more often. Create a night, Saturday night, Friday night. It could even be a Sunday afternoon where you begin to play the same game weekly. And this is going to create a very special memory, a fun thing if you do it on a regular basis. So I encourage you, if something is working in your family, if there's a game that you're enjoying playing, do it and do it on a regular basis. This is going to create a wonderful memory for your children. We have got to connect. Otherwise, if you're not intentional about what you are doing and how you are doing it with your family, then you guys will be all just sitting around on your own devices and scrolling through your own devices and not connecting. We have to have this eye-to-eye, face-to-face connection. We have to have regular interaction and traditions that we are doing on a regular basis to anchor our family in the family unit. Okay. It could be movie nights. It could be Saturday football. It could be Sunday football. It could be Monday night football. It could be pizza night. It could be just a family night. It could be a family meeting that you have every Monday night around your chicken dinner, whatever it is. The more regularly you do things, the better. And this is what creates traditions, to just do it on a regular basis. You could have a special Saturday morning breakfast or Sunday morning pancakes. Our tradition was always going to church on Sunday mornings. And like my mom said, and a brunch or a special lunch after church. These were traditions. So as you do this, you have this constant connection, and it's intentional, it's planned, it's repetitive, and it creates this anchor for your children, for their childhood. You can do things on special occasions. My brother, he is a scientist, and so he has this beautiful telescope. And so anytime there is a full moon, or anytime there's a red blood moon, or any sort of special situation like this that's happening in the skies, he's going to always get out his telescope and take a look at these things. Things that you could do on a regular basis that create memories. This is the developing your children. This is developing it in a sweet way. A daddy daughter date, a mother son date. I think it's really a special thing, these daddy daughter dances that I see. I think it is precious. My son takes his daughter on a daddy daughter dance. They go every year. I think it's around Valentine's Day, and it's just become a special tradition. Do you think you'd like to do that, Faith?
Maybe.
We might have to tell your dad to go with Uncle Brandon and to learn about these daddy daughter dances. I think you and your girls would love it.
So my neighbor, her name's Ella. She goes on a daddy daughter date every year, and then she takes photos. Once she grows up, and then she puts them in this little album of pictures. So every year she grows up and goes on a daddy daughter date.
That is so special. And she has an album where she saves it. So then as she grows up, she'll be able to see her entire life of these daddy daughter dates.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. You love that idea. We could tell your dad, or you could tell your dad about this idea to start a new tradition for you and your sisters. I think that is a great idea, because maybe you would rather not go fishing for your date. Maybe you'd rather get all dressed up and go to a daddy daughter dance.
Maybe.
What do you think you would prefer?
Well, it's our choice.
Or maybe you want both. You want to have a time to go
Maybe.
fishing and a time to dress up?
Sure.
Okay, that's okay. You could have more than one tradition. That would be okay.
I can.
Yeah, that's so special. But you know what? These are important things. When my girls were little, there was no such thing as a daddy daughter dance, and nobody even thought about it. I never went to a daddy daughter dance. We never thought about it. So we never had that chance. But that sounds like such a fun idea. I love it.
It might be like, if anybody has been to a daddy daughter date, you can just
It could be a lunch date, or a breakfast date, or a dinner date.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be,
Yeah.
like a big deal dance, but I like the idea of taking pictures and then keeping the pictures. Another thing that you can do that I know you've done with your parents is having like a family service day, where you just create this culture. In fact, I think it's part of your family mission statement, where you go and you serve. And you've gone to serve at Mercy Culture Church, and you've gone to serve in their food bank. And so, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Okay, so the Mercy Culture Food Bank is when they give out free food to people that need, that are homeless. So our school is right next to Mercy Culture Church. So every Wednesday they have a food drive. So we can see the food drive. And so when we were at recess one day, on Wednesday, me and my friend, we saw this homeless man have a cart and a bunch of food, and we were like, "Oh, it's Wednesday. The food bank is open. He might have gone to the food bank." And there was like, he had a dog with him, and his dog stuff was in that cart. So we think that's where he slept with his dog.
Oh, so maybe he actually,
Yeah.
dog food might be a good idea to bring to a food bank. I never thought about
Mhm.
that, but sometimes homeless people actually have dogs too.
Mhm.
That's an interesting thought. But the point is that your parents take you to serve. And I know that you've done some serving and you've
Mhm.
helped out and you volunteered there. And I think that is also can be a really good family tradition of serving.
Uh-huh.
Another tradition that you did at the beginning of the show, you talked about your heart surgery. And
Yes, I
every
did.
year, when it is the anniversary of when you had your heart surgery, you go back to the hospital of where you had your heart surgery and you've like taken cookies and thanked the doctors and the
Mhm.
nurses and tell them how you're doing. And they really enjoy seeing you grow up.
Well, my doctors actually, I don't get to see them. They're not actually in the hospital. They're in the rooms where people so I never get to see them. I see just random doctors.
Oh, okay. But you take cookies.
Yes.
And just thank them. Thank the
Mhm.
people that are working there for
Yes.
and you visit the hospital and stuff.
Yes.
That I think is such a sweet idea. That's become a really great tradition that your mom has
Uh-huh.
done.
And on Home Alone, there was Kevin. He was at the hospital, outside of the hospital, and he saw a kid in the hospital. Do you
Oh,
remember that?
I do. I forgot about that scene.
Uh-huh.
That's a good point. It's so important to visit when people
Mhm.
are in hospital, especially when kids are in the hospital.
Yes.
And it's so important to thank our doctors and nurses that work so
Mhm.
hard. Yeah. Well, there are other traditions that I think I would like to mention while we're here at the end of our show. Traditions like, for instance, anytime you get a new home or anytime you move, we have a tradition of praying and blessing the home. So the whole family comes together, and sometimes people have invited me because I'm a pastor and my dad's a pastor. People will invite the pastor to come and pray for their new home and to dedicate their new home. It's called a new home dedication. Another family tradition that we have is dedicating our children. So that's a children dedication. And we usually do it at church, or sometimes we do it at our home, where after the babies are born, we pray a special blessing over the babies and we dedicate them to the Lord. And so that's just like a beautiful time of blessing. It's a tradition of having a baby dedication. Some other traditions that we have for New Year's Eve, we always go out and celebrate New Year's Eve. And your mom and dad have started a really great tradition. What they do is they actually celebrate with the kids New Year's before it's actually New Year's here in Texas. They celebrate their New Year's from a different time zone. So that they can watch the ball in New York City drop. And so then by the time that happens, they can go ahead and put the kids to bed and then stay up late for their own party. So that's kind of a fun tradition that we watch the New York City celebration and watch the ball drop in New York City every year, like right at midnight. So that's the way that we can, and another tradition that everybody in America does, and I don't know if everyone all over the world does this, but on New Year's Eve, right when it turns 12 o'clock and everybody starts cheering, then you kiss the person that's closest to you, or you kiss your husband or your wife or the person that you're standing by and wish them a happy new year.
That is weird.
It's a weird tradition, but it's true. So you better be careful who you're standing by whenever it's 12 o'clock. You'll be next to your parents, I'm sure. It's true. It's a tradition.
I don't like that.
You don't like that tradition? It's true. It's a tradition. You always do that. Okay, so Dave Ramsey, he says that we should start a mortgage burning tradition. So whenever you pay off your house, it is have a party, and I think that is a great idea. It's a special occasion. If you pay off your car, have a party. These are things that create wonderful, kind of milestone traditions. Another neat thing to do is a family time capsule. And we sort of did this whenever we had our cousins camp and we made the Christmas ornaments, and inside we wrapped a little prayer request and we wrote the date on it. And so years later we can open that and we can see what prayers, have been answered. It's sort of like a time capsule.
So a time capsule is when you tape footage of your old self, and you can put like stuff that you like that describes you. And people usually do it at school, like that's the best time to do it. And so then you probably want to like dig underground over like years.
That's
and
right. You can
years.
bury it. So you bury
Yeah.
the family time capsule. And so, like, since you're moving to this home that's going to be probably your forever home, I mean, you guys are going to live in this home for a long time. Well, you're going to be back in it in 3 months, but your parents are remodeling it for you guys to live there probably for your whole childhood.
Yes.
But so you could bury the time capsule in the yard and fill it with some of your family's favorite things, like notes or items that represent the time period, anything that is like popular now. So I think like fidgets, maybe you should put some fidgets in there. Things that represent this time period. And then you're going to open it like in 20 or 30 years or something like that. You open it a long time later and it's like, whoa.
And you could like play with
be like,
fidgets.
and it'd be like, I can't believe I was so into these when I was 8 years old.
I know.
Yeah, but it's cool. I like your idea of putting pictures or videos or things like that in there. But in 30 years, videos change. Like we used to watch videos on these big tapes. Have you seen those ones? Like that Grandma Gigi has a big player.
Yeah.
And so you could put this big videotape in.
Yeah.
It was called a VHS tape.
Then
And then now we have DVDs, or else we just watch videos on our phone or on the smart TV or something. We don't even have to have a DVD anymore. It's weird the way things like that change. And so like you could put a DVD in a time capsule and people would be like, what? What's this? Because maybe they won't have DVDs in 30 years.
I have no idea how to make a DVD with your own video.
Okay, so I have an old video camera. It didn't use DVDs, but it used these tapes that were I'll show it to you when I get home.
Okay.
And when Brooke was little, she was 5 and 6 years old doing pageants. I have a tape of her, and your mom was a baby. And I have this big tape, and I'll show you how this old video camera worked. It's totally different than now.
Well, I'm very excited to see it.
You're very excited to see it.
Hopefully it's not cringy.
Hopefully it's not cringy. Well, it might be a little bit cringy, but I don't know. It'll be fun to see it anyway. I think your mom would love to watch. It would be fun to watch videos of your mom when she was 8 years old. In fact, we could make a family tradition. Let's see if you like this idea. That this week after Christmas, between Christmas and New Year's, that we have a family night that all we do is watch old videos and old movies of our family.
You know what? I already love this plan now.
You like it? Okay, let's do this plan. Let's do it. So we'll start a new tradition. And I also think that it would be neat to start a new tradition of having a family mission statement. Now, I'll talk to Pa about this, and then maybe you can talk to your parents about having a family mission statement. Okay, so a family mission statement. Now, this is something that Stephen Covey recommends, and I think that he's got some great points about this. He says a family mission statement is a combined, unified expression from all family members of what your family is all about. So, what it is that you really want to do and be, and the principles that you choose to govern your family life. So everybody gets to sort of participate in making this family mission statement, and it's very specific to your family. It doesn't have to be complicated or difficult at all. And it's just what it sounds like. It's a description of an individual's or a family's reason for existing, basically. So the family mission statement encapsulates your idea of a good life, and it lays out your family's purposes, goals, and standards And every member of the family has a hand in articulating these values, and they all agree with them. So companies do this. And I think that at the beginning of a new year, it's a great time to just think about your own family mission statement. It's one thing to have one for your company or for yourself as an individually, but why not for your family so that your family has an understanding of the intentionality of what your family is all about? Because loving, supportive, and outstanding families, they don't just happen. It really does take intentionality. It takes planning, and it takes building traditions, making traditions. And I think that having this tradition of creating a family mission statement and then reviewing it at the end of each year before going into the next year would be a great idea. So Faith, tonight let's talk about this with the other members of our family. Okay, because you guys are staying with us right now, basically living with us while your house is being remodeled. So we will do a family mission statement. I like that idea. And we'll get everybody to participate.
Yes.
Because you and I are going to do it together.
I know Anderson will not want to.
You think he won't want to, your big brother? But he is full of good ideas. Every time we do our birthday tradition, going around the table saying what we love about everybody, he thinks of the best words. He really is pretty creative. He's good with words. So I think that he might like this. But we'll have to ask your dad and Pa, because I think it's really important that the fathers think about what their family's values are. And your mom and I will talk about it, because we want to talk about what is important with our family, because really we are the ones driving the ship here. It's very important that we know where we're going. If you don't know where you're going, then you're not going to get there. So let's do our best to steer everybody in the right direction. We want to do this with some intentionality. So you might want to read Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective Families. I think this is a great book to recommend today. It's a book that will give you some framework and some vision. But he says here, kids can be swept along with the flow of society's values and trends. It's simply living out the scripts that have been given to you. And in fact, it's really not living at all. It's being lived. And that's the whole thing. If we want to live with intentionality, we cannot just get swept away with what society says. We've got to have an anchor in our own family values, in our own morality, our own criteria, our own intentionality. And as we have these shared sense of values and purposes, this is going to bond parents and children together. And this family mission statement can really guide parenting decisions. It can guide children's decisions. It's supposed to be a guide for all of us. And as we continue making plans day after day, month after month, year after year, we stay anchored with our family mission statement. And there's a benefit. There's a benefit in doing that. It will create some meaning and some identity with everybody. So before you start, understand the process. And it's important to just participate, more important than the end result. Once you just get started, it doesn't matter if it's perfect, if it looks good or sounds right. But the reality is, the end product isn't as important as the process. But this task of creating this family mission statement is really where the magic happens. It's the task of where everybody has an opportunity to participate and say what their own value is. Faith, what would you suggest with a family mission statement? What do you think are your core values? What's the most important thing to you? I know mine is I want to have a home that has an atmosphere of love and peace. And also, I want our home to have fun. Also, I want it to be well organized so that it's peaceful. I want us to eat meals together. I want us to go to church together. I want everybody to be nice to each other. What are some things that you think are really important? I think it's important to go on vacation together. Yeah. How about to help each other?
Sure.
Yeah. Because you like help. You like help if you're and you want to help. If I'm cooking, you always want to help. If you're doing your homework, what do you say? Will you help me? Yeah.
Well, sometimes I don't. It's depending on what it is.
Right. Sometimes we want to just do our individual things. Sometimes we don't help.
Yes.
So those are values that you would add in your family mission statement, that we're helpful to each other. That's a good family value. I like to have a value of prayer. That's how come I have a prayer room in my house. And so I like for all of us to be able to sit and pray. So I think part of a family mission statement would include praying together.
Part of the praying room is a football area where people yell and yell, come on.
That's true. So in one area, we watch TV and watch football games and we all cheer together. Maybe we should make that part of our family mission statement that everybody has to be a Dallas Cowboys fan.
Unless if you're somebody else that doesn't live.
I know. My brother, when he was a kid, he lived in Pennsylvania. And so he started being a Philadelphia Eagles fan. Well, okay. He is not allowed to watch Cowboys games with us because he would not be rooting for the Cowboys. And it's a family mission statement. We have to be Dallas Cowboys fans. Period.
Either cheer for the Cowboys or you're out of here.
Either cheer for the Cowboys or you're out of here. That's right. That is our family motto. Let's go Cowboys. Yeah.
Yep.
That's family motto.
And every single time we have a Cowboys game, Nina, she wears something Cowboys.
That's right. Anytime we have a Cowboys game, part of a family tradition is we dress up with Cowboys colors, or at least a Cowboys t-shirt or a Cowboys sweatshirt or something like that.
She has a whole Cowboys wardrobe.
We have a Cowboys wardrobe. That's right. Well, thank y'all for joining Faith and I today. Thank you for being here with me, Faith.
You're welcome.
I think it's so important that we take our kids and our grandkids to work with us. How else are they going to learn what it is that you do unless you take them with you? So this was her turn to come with me today, and I appreciate it because I want to pass down the value of a work ethic and the value of teaching these wonderful principles of family and marriage. So God bless y'all today. Happy New Year. And I'll see you next Monday right here on JoCo Community Radio on The Her Show. I'm Trina. Hugs and high fives.
Bye.
Bye.
From Burleson to Venus and Grandview to Godley, this is the voice of Johnson County, JoCo Community Radio.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. New York City's mandate requiring nearly all private sector businesses to ban unvaccinated employees from the work